everybody, and welcome to the session. My name is Alison Fox. I'm from the National Youth Council of Ireland, and I'm really delighted to be here this afternoon to share this showcase session of the pilot artists in residency scheme that has been run with Maynooth and Kildare County Council. I suppose first of all, I want to start off by really thanking Hilary and the Maynooth University team for inviting us to participate in the conference today and just creating this space to bring, I suppose, the work and tell the story of the students and the artists over the last 6 months and the work they've created. But also to highlight, I think, a little bit about how the creative mechanisms in youth work can help tell young people's stories, community stories. So I want to, first of all, we do want to spend most of the hour sort of focusing on the work of the artists and the students and what they have created. But before that, we have asked each of our partners who are involved to speak briefly about the project, where it's come from, and the role that youth arts can play within youth work in supporting young people as they develop and transition through their lives. So on that note, I'm going to firstly hand you over to a very familiar face to us all, Dr. Hilary Tierney from Maynooth, to introduce the project to everyone. Thanks, Hilary.
Hello, everyone, and it's great to see so many people here. Some of you will be familiar with the story, with the background to this project, and other people won't. But I think it's a really good example of collaboration and of sort of synergies. You know, the conversations that happen when people meet each other in places and spaces and find out what it is that they are interested in. Together, and then looking at what can be created out of that. So I think in the first instance, all credit goes to the National Youth Arts Programme, and Anne in particular, who was the youth officer, the arts officer at the time, and Lucina from Kildare Arts Office, who had piloted, who had sort of run pilots in other contexts, and in fact in the university, and who then came to us. And I think these things grow out of these sorts of partnerships and ideas. And I think we in the Department of Applied Social Studies and the Centre for Youth Research and Development in particular have had a long history of sort of strategic collaboration with the National Youth Council, and this one now with the Arts Office is newer, but hopefully one that will continue. So when that proposal was made to us, we had a number of really, I suppose, you know, sort of exploratory meetings, but also quite detailed meetings about what might be possible and what we might be able to create together. And I suppose we have in our programs here in Maynooth have always had a very strong sort of arts dimension to the programs and a sort of creativity dimension to the programs. But I suppose through my own work in particular on the Youth Work and You project, I had become really quite excited about the possibility of digital storytelling and filmmaking to take narratives into different sorts of spaces and to create different sorts of stories. So it was very exciting when we put the tender document out that the Young Irish Filmmakers were interested and went through the process and were eventually offered the tender. And of course, all of that was all beautifully laid out in life as we know it, which is like another sort of BC now, before COVID. And we had engaged across the staff team with students about the sorts of projects that we might do, what it might be, create, how it might add and support the students' professional formation on the one hand in terms of their own professional identity, but how it also might develop a skill set among students that they would also then be able to engage and empower with young people around storytelling. And it's a real testament, I think, to everybody who is involved, to the partners very directly, so to Lucina and Alison, and then hopefully in the future perhaps Rona, that the degree of flexibility that people had and the degree of like, let's work with this. And we hear a lot about the term resilience, and sometimes it's a word that I'm not too keen on because I think it has certain sort of connotations. But in this context, it was like we were able to regroup, regather, literally go with the flow about what might be possible. And then the staff team here in the department, along with the students, really, you know, just went, okay, let's look at what's possible. And of course, none of it had been possible without Young Irish Filmmakers, without Aoife and Gary. And I think when I was thinking about it earlier, I was thinking like the words that really come to mind for me about both of those is like unflappable. It's like no matter what was put to them, there was just this absolute steadiness, this, I think I used the term maybe earlier as well, sort of an exquisite expertise, a real sense of we know what we're doing and we're expert enough to be able to improvise and to be able to create something new together. So that has been a really important core of it. So the overall, I suppose, strategic piece, which was we want something to happen, circumstances have changed, so let's regroup and see what's possible. And then the expertise and as I said, the unflappability and the absolute, dedication of both Aoife and Gary, I think, along with the coordinators in Maynooth creating the space. And then, of course, the students' really enthusiastic engagement, despite the fact that everything was online. I mean, it's one of those stories you actually probably couldn't make up. And we've heard a lot of those today about what happened in COVID. So it is great pleasure that we bring this showcase to you. And a sort of a sense of like it is a project that took a different direction and a different sort of mode than we had, and yet there was not only useful learning but hopefully some fun and some skills development and some interesting conversations along the way. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to hand over to Rona, because as Alison said, really the priority here is the students and their films.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Rona Dunnett, and I'm the new National Youth Arts Programme Manager at the National Youth Council of Ireland. And I'm delighted to be here today to celebrate the conference and to celebrate this Artist in Residency project. It is great. Great youth arts happens when the relationship between young people and their ideas and interests and their chosen art form and the facilitator or worker sparks a unique creative journey that's shaped by the young participants. And sometimes youth arts involves a team of workers where youth and community workers build partnerships with youth arts facilitators or artists, where the artist is bringing their knowledge, skills and experience of the artistic process, and the youth and community worker is bringing their knowledge of the young people and their skills and experience of the youth work process. However, youth and community workers can also embody all the knowledge, skills and experience needed to lead a great youth arts process themselves, marrying their youth worker expertise with a creative and imaginative practice that can help young people connect with an art form, an issue or story, and really find their voice through the arts. The National Youth Arts Programme is delighted to support the engagement of youth and community work students from Maynooth in youth arts practice. We want youth and community students to experience the potential of youth arts practice as participants. We want to help build the confidence levels of students in being able to facilitate youth arts experiences for young people in whatever context you go on to work within. And we want to promote youth arts as an important methodology in your toolkit and support you to see youth arts as a core part of your future work with young people and in the community. We look forward to learning from the outcomes of this Artist in Residency project with our partners and exploring how this residency can be used as a model going forward to reach more youth and community work students across the country, and hopefully help even more young people access quality youth arts experiences. Partnership is key really within the world of youth arts. And in youth arts, we promote a collaborative way of working between young people, youth and community workers, youth arts practitioners and artists to achieve positive outcomes for young people. And equally, the development of youth arts on a local and national level is built through partnership work, where many different organizations share their expertise and experience to progress youth arts practice and provision. And we've been delighted to work on this Artist in Residency project with our partners, Maynooth University, Kildare Arts Service, and the Young Irish Filmmakers. And I'm delighted now to hand over to one of our valued partners, Lucina Russell, who's County Arts Officer from Kildare Arts Service. Thanks.
Thank you, Rona. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my great pleasure to be here. And as Rona mentioned, I'm the Arts Officer for Kildare County Council, and I am aware that some of the students who've availed of this fabulous residency won't necessarily be working in Kildare, you know, that maybe you're living and working further afield. I do hope that some of you do, because this has been a wonderful opportunity. But if you're going to work beyond Kildare, there will be somebody like me, there will be an art service in your county, there will be an art centre. And I suppose following on from what Rona and Hilary have said, there's lots of resources there to help you as a youth worker. And hopefully a spark has been lit in you to develop your own practice as an artist in your own right, as well as the work that you might do with young people that you engage with in the future. A key part of the programme for us as well is that artists from the Young Irish Filmmakers in this case, and as Hilary mentioned, the timing was good in terms of if you're going to plan for a residency in a pandemic, filmmaking probably was a good choice, but we didn't know that. We've been planning this for a number of years. And I would like to acknowledge Hilary and the staff who have accommodated this residency within a very busy programme. And I know that you do work placements, and it was always, and Morris as well, just a spirit of generosity around it. And everybody from the start thought this was a good idea, even though we didn't really know what it was going to look like. But I think that artists have always been key to this. And we're delighted that Gary and Aoife have been supported through the residency. And to maybe show some of the youth workers what's possible when you engage an artist and how they can elevate the work that you might do. So I think that's about all I have to say. Film is very close to our heart in Kildare, and we have lots of film commissions and other opportunities for filmmakers. And as Hilary mentioned, today is really all about the students and their work, and I'm really excited and looking forward to seeing the works. I suppose this is a premiere today. We're hopefully the first people to see these films, and I very much look forward to it. So well done to everybody involved in pulling it off. And for those of you who haven't been involved at working online, I know the challenges, and it'll probably all look seamless and fabulous, but we all know the work that goes into this. So well done to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucina and Rona and Hilary. For the very succinct story of where it came from and where we're going. I'll just echo everyone's comments. I'm going to introduce now Gary McHugh and Aoife Anderson, who are the two artists and Young Irish Filmmakers who've just been outstanding in translating what was originally something to start on campus face to face, and that's how it was planned, but they miraculously turned it all around and brought the students with them on that journey who enthusiastically engaged. So we're really delighted to have the two of them here today. So I'm going to hand over to Aoife and Gary, who are going to introduce the films, the students, and have a discussion with them around the process of what took place. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much, Alison. Yes, myself and Aoife are absolutely delighted to be at this point. There was a point at which we thought, is this ever going to happen with COVID and such? But thank you for the lovely words about the work we've done. We've really enjoyed engaging with the students. And personally, I want to thank Aoife, because I think she really did carry me the whole way through.
Not at all. Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work. But look, enough from us. We might get a chance to kind of chat more about the process later on. I think really important. People really want to see these movies, and that's what we're all here to see. So I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to show you 4 films. The Journey, It's for Protection, is it coming up in second. The Positives of Lockdown, and Don't Be a Bystander. And you'll see all the lovely credits there at the end. So you will get a name check there. I'm not going to go through them all now, but you'll get a name check in your credits. Okay. So I'm going to share screen. Aoife, you're going to hop off there now, I think. And we'll roll it there, Colette, as they used to say.
What are some of the things that influenced you to study at Maynooth University?
I think my lived experience, as we all know that I went through the process of asylum seeker being a Ghanaian, and then through that process became an Irish. But living in that process, I realized that it's really very important to be part of a change. And that change is to fight through to get equality and then what's it called? Social justice. So I felt like, you know what, I could do something about this. So it pushed me to look for a cause that will get me into becoming the part of that change. So that is why I was able to get to the cause in Maynooth. Yeah.
What pushed me to go to Maynooth was just I wasn't a job that I was happy with. So I made the decision then to do something that I really wanted. So I went and did a PLC, and which got me towards Maynooth and pushed me towards Maynooth. And now I think looking back, it's probably the best decision I ever made. So
I never went to school. Like, I got dragged into the Leaving Cert literally by the head. Like, I got dragged in, and I'm glad I did it. Like, I never had aspirations of going to college or doing anything. Like, I was really sick growing up, and it wasn't on my cards. So I suppose going to college for me, I spent every day in the youth service. Like, it was my second home. It was just through conversations there, and then I said, fuck it. Didn't care about the leaving, so I'll do a PLC, and from that PLC, the next step was Maynooth, and it just all fell into place for me, really. Thank God, says me.
And what made you pick community and youth work?
You know, I don't know, it's always right within my soul that giving back to the society. You see, going through that process, I really gained a lot. So I felt like this is the time for me to also give back to the community. So either being involved in the community or being part of the youth, because I have a youth child, like they're a teenager. So yeah, that was my aim. And then change can happen anyway, irrespective of being in the community or whatever. So that's my reason, yeah.
it was just something that I was always interested in. Just helping others and stuff, it was always in me from a young age. And I actually wasn't even supposed to go to Maynooth. I was going to go to it alone. And when I went up and went to the open day and stuff like that, I didn't really know much about it, but I got the information there and then. I looked into it and actually changed my preference on the CAO, and I was lucky enough to get in. So I was really happy, yeah.
I was in the youth centre 5 days a week, and I was in school probably one. So for me, like, I didn't want to leave the youth centre ever, so I was like, look, I have to get a job here if they're going to stick me around. I went 18 and it was, come on, time you get out a little bit. So yeah, college and doing the youth work for me was, in my head, the way to stay in the youth project.
Then for me, like, my influence was being in a youth centre 6 days a week and being in till sort of 9-10 o'clock at night, and it was straight in from secondary school in. And then even in secondary school, looking back on it, some of the teachers were using youth work approaches in their teaching. So I'd be out of class and I'd be doing PE, or I'd be running around the school doing mad jobs just to keep me in school instead of fighting. And then when it came to deciding where I wanted to go, it was either youth work in Dundalk or it was a PLC in Liberties, because I didn't do French to get to Maynooth. So I took the PLC in Liberties, which had a natural progression to Maynooth University. What were some of the barriers you faced before Maynooth?
I suppose the biggest barrier was coming from a full-time job, getting decent wages, I suppose, to dropping back to getting the back to education allowance. You know, so that was a big step, and it was a big decision to make. It was definitely one of the barriers I suffered at the start. But I got myself another job at the weekends, so that helped that, but was definitely a barrier. I suppose just travel as well, being able to, it was all just kind of down to, I hate saying it, but it was down to money, like, you know, and being able to afford a car or a bus or whatever. It was tough at the time, but thankfully it sorted itself out, and I got another job and it was happy enough.
Look, I suppose for me, like, I was very sick and I didn't believe I'd do it at all. As well as that, like, I live in a household of active addiction, like, so to go to college and learn about, you know, certain people facing barriers and come home and look at these people is so difficult at times, you know. I'm just looking at people around me, you know, on the labour and in and out of prison, and I'm not saying it's an easy option or anything like that, but sometimes I think, why am I working this hard and I'm still sitting here with all this, do you know what I mean? Things like that, I suppose, was the most difficult for me. I love where I'm from and I love the people around, and I'll always stay here, you know. It's just now I have better mechanisms to help, or not help, but to work with these people and to show them that there's more to life, you know.
What's been one of the best opportunities you've gotten from studying community youth work in Maynooth?
Yeah, the best one was being an Irish citizen. But yeah, because initially it was a barrier to even get the freebies, and you know how much it is, how you have to work your ass out being a single mom too. So that's the best opportunity, and now things are moving smoothly and nicely. Yeah.
For me, the biggest opportunity is getting to volunteer with Jigsaw through a classmate, and then from there I've been on different national media platforms, and now sitting on a global youth mental health committee, and sort of just bringing the knowledge of Maynooth to national and global platforms.
Come here, we going around town, man.
Yeah, it's one thing.
Yeah, we walk that way, it's a bit safer.
Oh, no, fuck that. That's going around the world going that way.
Oh,
It'll go that way.
I don't want to go that way, it's dodgy that way.
I don't mind that. Overnight.
What?
Yeah. I have to text myself.
Oh, God, you know you can get charged for that.
Oh, sure, look.
Carrying a knife?
Yeah. I have to text myself.
Don't know about that now.
It's a dodgy area, like.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you want to weigh up that risk, do you?
What risk?
Yeah,
come on, let's go.
Oh, I don't know about that now. Suppose we'll go then.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
What's up?
Nice to see you all.
Right.
How are we all doing? We're missing a few. Has anyone been talking to anyone else in the group? Are people on their way?
Did you hear about Emma?
Emma who?
Emma Hughes.
No, what happened?
She was found down by the canal with a knife.
Well, Emma's not really here at the moment to defend herself, so I don't think we should be talking about her.
No, and to be fair, guys, in our group contract, we says we wouldn't talk about anybody who's not in the space. So I think it'd be disrespectful to actually talk about Emma. So I think we kind of laid that aside for tonight.
Like, if it was one of you weren't here tonight and then you found out tomorrow that we were talking about you, whether it was good or positive, I don't think you'd like it. So I think we should treat Emma with the same respect. Now, if you want to talk about knives or weapons, I think that could be an interesting conversation to have. But I think if we're having that conversation, we need to keep Emma out of it.
I think we should.
I don't think we should. I think that's a load of bollocks. Like, we're not here to talk about this shit. We're here to have a bit of a laugh. Like, if we're going to talk about that, I'm just going to fucking go. It's bullshit. Like,
well, we're here to have a laugh, but we're also here to talk about stuff as well, Snowy.
No, that's just bullshit.
There's no harm in it.
Oh, what's his problem?
Okay, there's something.
Yeah, there's something up there. We'll have a chat with him later on and make sure that he's okay. But in the meantime, what do you want to do today? There's a very few of us, so I think we're better off keeping it to. It's going to be hard to do an activity, so we'll just keep it to a kind of discussion today. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about it, to be honest.
Okay, that's all right, Ruby. Why do you have a specific reason?
I just think like a lot of people are carrying at the minute, and they shouldn't be.
Okay. Do you know many people carrying?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that make you feel?
Like, it makes you feel like you're a bit unsafe, like, and you question yourself and all, like, you know. So yeah. I don't know. Like, I just think it shouldn't.
Well,
be
maybe
like
they have the reasons for carrying knives.
Yeah, but I don't know.
What would that be, Casper?
I don't know, safety.
Why you're not putting other people in danger then, like if you're carrying?
Yeah, it's true.
No, but like, it's not going to be any danger, you know, if you use it properly.
Well, they're kind of two different things, really, aren't they? Owning a knife and knowing how to use it properly and use it safely.
Suppose, yeah.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
I think we could do a session on knife crime.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe it's something myself and Bumble can actually organise for next week.
Yeah, that sounds grand to me. And in the meantime, brilliant. And in the meantime, like, as you said, it is a bit unnerving if people you do know have knives. And if you ever want to talk to us, you know we're always here, not in the group, but if you ever want to talk to us outside the group. Sorry, Casper?
I said I wouldn't mind talking to you.
You would? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to do that. We can do it after the session if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. That'd be grand. We can fit that in. That's no problem.
Oh yeah, how did lockdown treat you?
It's lockdown. It is what it is now. It's the same now.
Like Groundhog Day in real life.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. Hasn't been great at all.
I'm kind of getting used to it at this stage. I hope I'm not getting too used to it.
It was hard at first, but there's a lot of positives in it as well.
And again, it's the little things, isn't it? Like I met my partner during the lockdown. I discovered coffee. I've been flat out getting takeaway coffees, going on little breaks. I don't think I've ever appreciated the weather so much. And like the sunsets, I've become quite the keen photographer. So there's positives in the everyday, I think.
Yeah, I met my girlfriend just before lockdown happened. So we stayed in touch during that and now we're together. I remember going to the zoo with her. It was absolutely amazing. I've done a lot of exercise as well during lockdown. I've lost a stone since January, which is amazing for me. Like, you know, cycling, swimming, running.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think for me, lockdown was a chance to kind of breathe because, you know, the past 3 years in college, we've just all been on the go. So it was a chance to get to know what's in your area as well. I know I went ziplining there recently and it was a bit difficult trying to catch your breath when you're screaming with the mask on, but it was fun in the end. But there's definitely a lot of local sites and stuff that I wouldn't have seen because I just would have went straight to the stores, straight into, you know, pennies to get stuff and not really supporting local businesses.
Yeah, the second lockdown kind of the levels were lower. We went on a staycation. We just went down to Kerry. Went to see Fungi before he disappeared. He didn't disappear in the back of my car, but yeah, so that was great. We wouldn't have got the opportunity if we didn't take it. So yeah, that was great.
Craig, we know you have Fungi in the swimming pool in your backyard. I think for me it was the celebrations that we had. We would have always celebrated birthdays and anniversaries, but this time we really made memories and we took more photos and we played games. We never would have played games, but we played games at them. And yeah, it's the celebrations for me that have made memories.
I discovered I could bake, like something I'd never done with my kids, just being here with them on their own, like baking with them. But also even down to Zoom and all, like the kids didn't get to see their cousins and all in person other than when it was out of the main lockdown. But seeing each other on Zoom, they were all excited. Like it's the little things, like even as my little 6-year-old said to me, like, I was complaining about something and it was just, man, it's not what we have, it's what you make of what we have. So that's my little philosophy from a 6-year-old, and I'm going to run with that and just think that way in future.
Yeah, he's right. It's not what you have, it's what you make of what you have. Really.
I love the beauty of the land, the people too, but sometimes I find myself at the receiving end of the social ills in our society. Racism is in Ireland.
Ireland is known as a land of saints and scholars, but how accurate is this? I fly a flag that is full of many colors, but homophobic responses can cause a lot of LGBTQI people to suffer.
I am proud of my community and cultural heritage, but if I'm not careful, society will teach me to be ashamed of it. It's time to reap the racism that is so deeply sown into the seams of society.
I know these people. They are my colleagues. They are my friends. Their experiences are real. Have you witnessed racism and discrimination in your time and turned a blind eye? It's so easy to turn the other way, isn't it? But what happens when we say something, if we speak up, if we question it? I'm calling on each of you to stand with victims of racism and discrimination. Don't be a bystander.
So what are some of the things that influence?
So there we have it. The wonderful work, and apologies, it might have come through a little bit laggy for some of you out there, but what I think we should do is maybe put that up as a full file online so that people can view it in all its high definition quality. It was playing here beautifully for me, but it may have been a little bit jumpy for you guys, so apologies. But yeah, thanks to all the students for making those films with us. I'm going to hand you over to Aoife, who's going to have a chat with some of the students and maybe talk to them about the work that they did and how they felt about the process.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Over to you, Aoife.
Thank you. I suppose what might be good is to jump around and get the perspectives of the students directly. And what I might do, what I might do is I will start with Sean, and you might be able to tell us a little bit about like the perspective of the process for you as a student within your course and how you found it.
Well, overall, I definitely enjoyed the process. I found it very, very useful to us as a class group. Personally, for me, it was very good because I'm interested in film. At the start, we done in second year of our course, we done obviously the face-to-face work. We moved to the online stuff this year, and I think definitely it was a chance for us as a group to come back together because there wasn't a lot of group work to be done.
Yeah,
I think we definitely enjoyed it. For me, I was able to use the skills there on my values presentation, and for those out there who don't know what it is, our values presentation is a chance for us as practitioners to show our professional values to our peer group. And so for me, I used the skills I used in the filmmaking. I made a film and voiced over it.
Yeah. No, I think it was super, and I think you're a really good asset to your team as well, Sean, within the film in terms of helping Lean with the editing skills. And I think that's the beauty of film as well. You can find your role within it. But I might pass it over to Jamin, who might speak a little bit to collaboration and I suppose how that stood out within the project, if Jamin is there.
Yeah. Hi everybody. So I suppose for me, like what stood out for me and what I understood and took away from this activity most is actually something that Hilary mentioned at the beginning. Is that filmmaking is perhaps it's one of the most collaborative environments that people use to create art, to create like deeply layered audiovisual narratives. And I suppose the collaboration, teamwork, and those partnerships are at the core of filmmaking. To create a film requires ongoing collaboration between all stakeholders of the project, to reach a shared objective. And I suppose through our collaborations with you guys, Aoife and Gary, we went beyond classmates and colleagues. We transitioned to partners with I suppose an equal and creative desire to express a powerful societal message. And I suppose what struck me most was the similarities in how it transfers to youth work practice. And I suppose as the essence of youth work is about working in partnership with young people and how young people work in partnership with other young people to form new relationships, to share and develop a range of skills through a dialogical process. I suppose this was all fundamental to this process as well, because it was very kind of transferable and there was a lot of similarities there. But as well, how we take this into our own practice, it's like creating this active participation through the activity that we use, that skill set that we're now learning, and we can bring it into our fields where we're working. Young people learn to, I suppose, co-produce, to develop and harness leadership skills. And this is something that we would have taken as well when we were engaging with this process. And I suppose just to finish on, I suppose tying it back into what the youth work authors like Kerry Young, Maurice Devlin, Judith Kilson, Trudy Cooper, for example, they all emphasized the importance of activities that form the basis for youth workers to engage with young people, to be able to enable those conversations to take place. And it's for me, that was one of the most important things, is be able to use this activity of making a film, of creating a piece of work, a piece of art that we can use to engage with young people, and yeah, I think that was one of the most important things for me. And just to say as well, just a shout out to one of our colleague, Niamh Hayes. She couldn't be here today, but she played a key role in this process. So yeah, just to give her a mention, and just to thank Maynooth University and Gary and Aoife for guiding us and giving us this opportunity to be a part of the process.
Yeah, super. Cheers, Jim. That was savage. And I think it definitely is a reflection what you want to do within the process, and then that kind of critical thinking aspect where you're forward thinking with it as well. But what I might do is I'll pass it to your collaborator, your partner, one of the partners within the project, Ruben. And Ruben, would you be able to speak a little bit about the fact it was new, and like a lot of people coming into the project didn't come with experience, and what that felt like within a film project?
Yep, thanks, Aoife. And I'd like to say thank you to Gary and to Maynooth University for giving us this opportunity to acquire new skills. I mean, when you're doing community and youth work, you need to have a creative head. And coming into this course, a lot of people didn't have those creative ideas or maybe the skills even to make films, but we got the chance to learn. It's something that is easy enough to learn, even though it was done in a short space of time, but we're able to think on our feet really, and we managed time very well, because I think we did this within 3 weeks, where we had a film right from scratch, learning how to take the shots, the close up, the wide shots, and all those were new terms to me, but I was able to keep up the pace. And using the Jamboard, that was something that was also new, but it was a way that I realized that you need those tools when you're getting out as a practitioner to be able to be effective in the work that we'll be carrying out. And also the technology that was used. We're using mobile phones. It's something that is accessible to everyone, but we're able to create films that can actually send out a message of social justice to people out there. And then also, I think the assigning of tasks and the collaboration, which Jamin was talking about, it was something that was done remotely, but we're able to piece everything together, and it came out as if we're in the same space. So that was something that was new to all of us, but we're able to pull it out. Yeah,
I think that's really important. And I think, like you're saying there, it's a vehicle for so many things. And to bounce, I feel like we're bouncing around the heads, but I think that's the nature of working within an hour. But it'd be really good to hear from you as well, Megan, within that project, kind of like the other group projects there, what you feel like you can bring forward within your practice, and what stands out to you.
Yeah, I think definitely, like, we did learn a particular skill set, you know, in terms of how to do filmmaking with young people and how effective it is, you know, in terms of, I think Hilary mentioned it earlier, storytelling, and just bringing groups together. And Jamin was saying about the active participation within that, you know, and really, I think it would be useful, particularly in my own practice, working with young travellers, you know, and working with other young people, just to help, just for them to, you know, share their own kind of cultural aspects and things like that. So I think it's a really effective tool for working with young people, and it's really effective to help them get a message across as well, you know, and it's very empowering, I think. And you know, something I done some filmmaking with my placement, my youth work placement with Roiga, and the young people, they'd chosen to do, you know, raise awareness around alcohol and substance misuse. And I got a really good idea of how empowering that was for them. Do you know what I mean? So coming back into this space then in Maynooth and being able to learn about that and how I can actually bring it forward in my own practice was something that I really, really enjoyed. So I'm hoping to learn a little bit more on that bully there. Yeah, as Ruben was saying, all of these long shots and all of this kind of stuff, you know, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it will be a really effective tool in the future.
Yeah, super. Cheers, Megan. And we have one last student, and I think bouncing from that, what you were saying there, Megan, in terms of like what you can bring forward, and it is a learning journey, and we're going to get better and stronger at those skills and being comfortable with the discomfort of not knowing all about it. You know, it's a case of learning with the young people as well sometimes. But on that note, Paula, you might just speak very briefly to the point on stepping outside your comfort zone, and how that sat with you in this experience of filmmaking.
Like I think I was saying to you there yesterday, like I think this type of work helps young people, or even if you're working within a community. When you're working in a community that's extremely disadvantaged and just this hard sort of area, you know, where they have to be street smart, they have to have all that now. So it's very hard to break down them walls in some, you know, really marginalised communities. So I think using the process of drama, you know, helps people, even myself, helps me step aside my own self. And I think it can help young people to sort of not let down the guard and tell their story without actually putting themselves at the forefront. to act like they're acting. But for a lot of the young people that you're working with, it is a real life stories that are being posted out there. But you don't have to put their own name onto it. They tend to be someone else for that. For them few minutes and all. So I think it's a great way of getting people to talk in general, like when you don't have to be talking as themselves. There's that little wall between the reality of what they're living and them saying this is my reality. You can sort of put that guard up. But especially for people like who are extremely disadvantaged, who don't normally feel comfortable stepping out. Because we found even when we were doing it, getting into the smaller groups, some people are much more comfortable getting into the smaller groups, and acting it out and all in the smaller groups. But sometimes when all eyes are on you, this sort of, especially young people, they're too close to do this type of stuff. So, but you get them to act, it just brings a different element to the work. So if you bring that into your practice, you can get people to be open. Like that one about racism was powerful to watch. And so many people experience racism. You look at diversity in communities, so many people experience racism, and especially see with my own son who's 18, him and all his friends, like young people from all walks of life in there. And I think I accept racism sometimes as banter. So to see, that was powerful to watch that one. But I think by addressing it in this way, it gets young people to sort of think, step back and think, it might be banter because we're friends, but how does this affect them when they go home and think about this at night? Is that how my friends really think of me? So I think making little videos and making short videos and all, with young people is a way of getting them to identify what racism is, identify what discrimination is, and start to look at it with a different lens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the lens of film, the beauty of that as well. I think it really is the nature of providing the safe space to explore those.
To express themselves and be open and not fear. As I said, if it's as if they're being a different character.
Mm-hmm.
You can be themselves by being a different character. If you understand what I mean by saying that.
No, and I think that's
contradiction, but you can be themselves by pretending to be a different character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a great process to be involved in, and I absolutely loved it. And like as Sean said, it helped you to sort of think about what other things you're doing within the college. You know what I mean? And by the way, Sean's video that he made was amazing on his presentation as well.
No, you get to have the after party now later today.
When we get our results tomorrow, we'll have the after party.
And I think that's really, like Gary, when we had started out in the project as well, it was kind of the intention of keeping, and again, we had the intention of being in the face-to-face space. So bringing it to the online space. I don't know if you could speak a little bit about that kind of collaboration or what the intentions are there.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously in our own practice within Young Irish Filmmakers, we had to look at everything we do and like everybody in the world, bring our A game to, outside of our comfort zone. Normally we're in the middle of you all with big cameras and whatnot. But I mean, what I was amazed by this process was that the technology just didn't get in the way. And that's what we kind of set out to make sure didn't happen. And as you can see from the results, albeit a little bit laggy, apologies for that. The actual quality of the stories that were told, the quality of the messages that were brought across, using what they learned and picked up over 3-hour sessions. So essentially in 9 hours they produced what you see before you. And if we had more time, it might look a bit different, but I think the message would still be the same. So I think that it was amazing what the guys did, and I just have to say hats off to the students, because our job is fun, it's creative, we know what we're doing, thankfully, but it's always made that more interesting, and I think that more enjoyable when you get people who are engaged, and this group of students were highly engaged, and they had a lot of great stories to tell. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'd jump on top of that as well, Gary, in terms of bringing that forward. The experience was made so much more enjoyable and accessible because people felt safe in the space and because they kind of knew what could be created, and which was amazing. So I think in that case, it is, you know, that there's leaders in the space that will explore things that might be that more difficult, a bit more difficult or challenging, but how important it is. And I think that was over the course of those 9 hours, I think it was like 8.5 of those were like really good chats and conversations and so much learning for us and from our side. And I think it just shows that you use that vehicle of film, and whether it's film within an artist residency, whether it's drama, whatever it may be, to create that space, to explore themes, ideas that speak to you, and exploring it as a group. And that kind of speaks to the ethos of filmmaking as well, and collaboration.
Gary, Aoife and Gary, now I'm just going to interrupt. I could sit actually listen to you keep discussing it for much longer. I'm really conscious of time, and I'm conscious the two of you actually are going to have to go and deliver a workshop after this on filmmaking, which I can encourage people if they want to sign up. I think there's still a few places left to do so. It's been, I mean, in the chat box, people have been really inspired by the work, and even when you say 9 hours and the students were able to produce these films, absolutely amazing quality, but really just through the discussion as well as the films, really showing how, I suppose, the whole area of youth arts and creative practice is so well linked and matched and with youth work, and how it can enhance youth work practice and what youth workers are doing. And really, particularly the first film around the journey, talking about why people came and did the course, really resonated, I think, with the theme of the conference, which has been about telling stories and the narrative, and the session earlier on even about becoming a youth worker. But it absolutely really inspiring work, and really thank you so much for the students and Aoife and Gary for the work that you did, but also for bringing it here today. And I'm really sorry that we don't have a lot more time to discuss, and I'm sure there would have been loads of questions around the work that you did. But I do want to hand over to Hilary for a few final words and a few thank yous before we sign off, and let you go and prepare for the workshop and say good evening to everybody else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I won't stay long at all. I think the thing I have to say, actually, and I want to say this very directly to the students, is just how incredibly proud I am of you. Do you know, it's really touching to have seen the themes and to see, and I think for other people who are watching, to know that these are final year students. So as I said, this was done in the hours in between as people were doing research projects, that they were preparing for their values presentations, which, as you'll have heard, is a big deal. Nobody mentioned their oral exams, which are another thing. So it reminded me a little bit of that story, you know, when everybody goes on about what a great dancer Fred Astaire was, people go, what about Ginger Rogers? She did everything that Fred Astaire did, but backwards and in high heels. And this is what it strikes me about that, is the feat of the group to get to that sort of space, to create the stories, you know, that you did around the themes that you did that are really crucial to community work and youth work and equality work, and speak so well, even though we didn't plan it like that really, for the themes of the conference. So I really want to acknowledge you. And I also, I suppose, want to acknowledge that the final year undergraduate students, as Paula mentioned, are going to get their results tomorrow, their final results. They are officially going to be unleashed as professional practitioners of the world. And I think the youth work world will be lucky to have them. And then in a few short months, the master's group will be in the same position. And I would urge you that if you see any of these people appearing on your applications for jobs, is just grab them up, because they're great, you know. And I know that every youth work educator feels that about their students, but because I'm here and I have the camera, I get to say it. And so in particular, I suppose to finish up again, can only say how brilliant it has been to work with Gary and Aoife. As I said, that absolute expertise, that unflappability, that sense of really knowing what they're doing and being good at what they're doing. I think it really models the best of what we might call in terms of professionalism, you know, and what Bernard Davies used to talk about, the notion of improvised jazz, you know, and you could see some of that there. And then none of it would have been possible without the support of NYCI, without the arts program and Kildare Arts Office. And I think just what we've managed to achieve and what you've all managed to achieve together in really, really challenging circumstances has just been brilliant, you know. So well done to everybody, and I hope we'll see some of you at the workshop at 6:30 for a 2-hour workshop. You should actually be able to produce our own film at the end of it. I'll be there, so that's what I'm hoping. Well, I'll learn. If I can learn 1/5 as much as the students, will be doing well. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.